Now, frankly, this bull run we're inevitably going to go on together is going to blow your mind, and XRP will be a part of it, in my opinion, and I'll not be surprised to see XRP enter face-melting price discovery and outperform all coins in the top 100, or at least most of them. I'll not be surprised to see that in the least. And I got to tell you this, my confidence is even stronger today. And not just because the market surged. Yes, the fact that it directionally has done what it's done, at least as of the time I'm recording, there hasn't been a pullback. Super to see. It'll make you feel more encouraged that, yeah, that really probably was the bottom on February 5th at $60,000 Bitcoin, $1.12, $1.13 XRP. But that's not the only reason. You know what else I find to be very mind-blowing, and it should blow your mind as well, is day after day, I just keep finding more and more macro factors which strongly support the overall macro thesis, which I continue to highlight on this channel. And I happen to have another big one to share with you today, actually. It's just, to me, it makes it seem very clear that the most likely outcome for us at this point is that you are going to see pure euphoria before this cycle's over. I do not believe the cycle's over. You're going to see it because that's what all the evidence points to. Macro factors actually really do matter. And all the stuff that you see from chart guys are a result of what happens in real life, the macro factors. Charts are downstream from macro, period. And what I'm telling you is that the macro is teed up in a way that has always, and I do mean always, literally 100% of the time, resulted in face-melting rallies for crypto. We have over 17 years worth of data in the crypto market. Every single time this has happened, that's what's occurred. So if it doesn't, this is the first time in history. But before going further, I do want to be clear. I do not have a financial background of any kind. I am not offering financial advice, and you definitely should not buy or sell anything because of anything I say or write. I'm just an enthusiast who enjoys making YouTube videos about crypto-related topics, but just as a hobby and just for fun. And you'd love to see this. XRP at $1.41, Bitcoin at $72,413. And frankly, this is more of a Bitcoin day. I mentioned that in my last video. It is true, though. What we've needed is for Bitcoin to get out of that range that it's been in. And at least, again, as of the time I'm recording this, there hasn't been a pullback as I'm recording this. This is what we've been waiting to see. It does appear to be breaking out to the upside. So I don't know if it's going to be higher or lower by the time you're watching this, but this is the big thing because the market moves in tandem. We've needed this. Altcoins can have their big day where they outshine Bitcoin after this. We needed this to occur. Now, that said, there's no shortage of money flowing into spot XRP ETFs. So what I'm telling you right now is that in addition to all these macro factors lining up, the smart money knows that. They know what I'm sharing with you. They know that this is the environment in which it makes sense to accumulate, and that's why they're doing it. The institutional money is just pouring into spot XRP ETFs. Look at this, day after day after day. Just millions of dollars pouring in every single day into this, and this is at a time when there's less interest in the crypto market. It's just incredible to see. Spot XRP ETFs have been live for less than 4 months, and out of those 4 months, there were only 6 individual days where there were outflows. That's it. During this ridiculous, messy, nasty crypto environment in recent months, where there have been all sorts of outflows, there's only been 6 days where it's down. The smart money is positioning with XRP. It's crazy to see. And there was this post from Hunter Horsley. He's the CEO of Bitwise, which has a spot XRP ETF. And it wrote here, the Bitwise XRP ETF is now the largest XRP ETF in America. $10 million inflows so far this week. And he posted that this morning at 10:55 a.m. So that didn't even include the data which I'm now showing you. You can see where the day ended here anyway. I don't know, Bitwise. It was up to a certain degree, but this figure that wasn't even included in there when he said that. And that's pretty amazing because they were not the first to launch. Canary Capital was the first to launch a spot XRP ETF. But think about that. In this environment, I mean, yeah, so fine, we had a great crypto day. But in this environment, to see that, smart money knows what it's doing. All right, now, earlier this week, of March 1st, I highlighted this news, which is of material significance. It's the ISM PMI. ISM is the Institute for Supply Management, and they have a survey that they run. They put out results for it once every single month. It's their PMI report. The PMI stands for Purchasing Managers Index. And this report, the one that's on your screen right now, I can't remember when it was initially started. This is the first one, though. It goes back, I can't remember, like it was 1950 or maybe it's even earlier. I'd have to Google it. I just can't recall off the top of my head. This is the report. When you hear anybody say the ISM, if they just say ISM, that's just shorthand for ISM Manufacturing PMI, which is what the actual metric is. But you can see if you see somebody type ISM, that's what they're talking about. Or if they just type PMI, this is what they're talking about. Sometimes they'll say ISM PMI. It's all the same thing. That's shorthand for ISM Manufacturing PMI. The reason I'm mentioning this is because there's another PMI report that ISM puts out, which is the ISM Services PMI. And so this report here shows it's a survey for actual purchasers in the real world in the realm of manufacturing. And then in a different sector, which is service industries, they'll have a separate survey for those purchasing managers. And so that when people say PMI, they're not referencing the service one typically. That's a newer one. I do happen to recall that one was started in 1997. So it's a newer metric, but it does matter. And it does show how a certain sector of the economy in the United States is actually doing. And that actually just came out today. The services survey comes out 2 business days after the manufacturing PMI came out. Now, the manufacturing PMI, I already talked about this, but I'll just note in case you missed it. It came out quite positive at 52.4%. So that's 2 months back to back where we had the manufacturing PMI in economic expansion territory. And this is for the first time in several years. Every single time where we have flipped to a regime where we're in economic expansion, every single time with zero exceptions, alt season did follow. What we've had the last several years, even though crypto went up, XRP hit a new all-time high, didn't really enter true face melting price discovery, but that went up, Bitcoin, all that happened while we were in economic contraction, actually. And so there are reasons, there's all sorts of reasons that people speculate it may be the case, such as, spot Bitcoin ETFs, money poured in, whatever the reasons are, it happened, right? But we didn't see that true crazy euphoria that we've become accustomed to that ends each market cycle. Well, we also weren't in economic expansion. It just happened. What I'm telling you is that now we are, it looks like, we got some data points here, we're in economic expansion. It just is what it is here. And so now we got this data, we got the services data, and here you can see it is up also. Services, the ISM Services PMI at 56.1%. Last month was at 53.8%, which is also economic expansion. So it's a different sector, and it is also an economic expansion. This materially matters. This is macro. This is real life. Because I'm telling you, when the economy is doing well, and you're in expansion, there's more money sloshing around, which makes it more likely that people and businesses and institutions will invest in your crypto that you hold and love so much, including XRP. That's why I'm taking the time to highlight all of this. So we got that news today. And so here's a post from chart analyst Psychedelic talking about exactly this. And just this evening, he wrote, "Everyone is underpricing this. Overall, ISM has now been in expansion for 2 months, and we just had a massive beat on ISM services for February, coming in at 56.1 when only 53.8 was expected. As I keep telling you all, we are in expansion, but everyone is so bearish. They literally cannot see all the data showing its hand very clearly. Every month I get someone tell me, next month it will drop. But it doesn't work like that. It's cyclical. We are expanding, and to bet on a prolonged bear market in economic expansion is just stupid. And folks, he ain't wrong. If this is true economic expansion, that impacts how real humans really behave. That's why this matters. And so real humans really will, when they have more money, feel like investing a certain amount of that and go further out in the terms of risk tolerances. They'll get into riskier stocks, the small cap stocks. And what do we see? We see small cap stocks breaking out. They have been breaking out for the first time in years. We're seeing all sorts of freight data come in. That indicates economic expansion. We're seeing the manufacturing PMI. We're seeing the services PMI. All indicate economic expansion. These are real people that really exist that make this data what it is. And so to think that for the first time in history, everything's going to be going great, just like before in other instances in years past, but it's just not going to change how they treat their investments in crypto because reasons. I do not buy that. That is a stupid idea. That makes no damn sense. So unless something happens to blow this all up, no, things are going to get better in crypto. Unless something materially changes, like a black swan event, something like that. That's what it would take, though. I mean, speaking of freight, take a look at this. There's an individual here named Tracy Riniak, not somebody I'm familiar with, doesn't matter, value stock strategist, apparently. And she shared this post about JB Hunt. JB Hunt is a large company. They are a freight and logistics company. And check this out. This is just data, folks. She wrote, JB Hunt hit an all-time high today. You read that right. A trucking company. Earnings expected to rise 16.8% this year and another 22.7% next year. Manufacturing renaissance this year? Question mark. More confluence, folks. Freight doing well. That was reposted by Craig Fuller. Craig Fuller is the founder of FreightWaves, freight market intelligence sonar, high frequency freight data. And so they have their own platform that I think it's a subscription type of thing. And so all sorts of investment firms, so on and so forth, I guess, would be their clients. And so he's the founder of that. And so he compiles tons of data. He is well versed in what is happening right now and in the world of trucking. And this matters because you can glimpse into what's happening in terms of the economy overall as a result of this. Because if there's more economic activity, there's going to be more trucks driving. And so here's what he said. Sonar has been signaling a manufacturing renaissance since November. Despite a lot of pushback I've received over the past couple of months, it's all in the high-frequency freight data. Industrial demand is popping. Folks, it's just data. It just is what it is. So, you can be a negative Nancy all you want. You can be a pessimist all you want. You can cry yourself to sleep every night because your crypto bags aren't what you want them to be. But all the data, all the macro data that matters keeps screaming at us that things will only get better because crypto follows this. It just does. It just does. And not overnight. We do have to wait. We're adults. That's fine. We can handle that. This is great to see. Here's a post from popular chart analyst James Bull. He shared this with his 173,000 followers on X. He wrote, "The road to $100,000 Bitcoin." Said everything is lined up for a bounce from the $60,000 support with tons of signals flashing absolute bottom. And then he's got four screen grabs I'm going to share with you. Number one, he said, 5 months of red in a row, which only happens once every 10 years. In fact, it has only happened twice and has always marked the bottom. Yeah. So that's true. Obviously, you're talking about limited data that's recurring because, crypto is only so old, but work with what you have, fine. And this is the longest streak that you've ever had. Last time it happened, it did mark a bottom. And history does tend to rhyme with itself. You can only be oversold for so long, right? So that's one thing. Number two, this is a BTC gold chart. So Bitcoin priced in gold. And he says, BTC gold always bottomed after 14 months exactly. It already did that in 2014, 2018, and 2022. Has always marked the bottom and was always followed by 2 to 3 years of up only. So not that the history is going to perfectly rhyme with itself. It doesn't mean you're going to have a 3-year bull run. Eventually the crypto market, whenever it runs, it's going to get too hot. It's going to get into bubble territory. It's going to pop. And then you can have a contraction in crypto, even if the rest of the economy continues to expand. And we have seen that before. There's a historic precedent for that. Crypto will peak because it gets way too hot, and then it will come down. It will correct very extremely, very harshly. But if the economy's good, the rest of the economy is going to perform well, and you can see that reflected in the markets also. Anyway, so that's what that chart is. And then number 3, Bitcoin is sitting at the cost of production. This has always marked the bottom. And so, folks, I don't know if that's always going to mark the bottom, but he's right. It has to this point. It's just data. It's just data. And then number 4, Bitcoin is now sitting at the all-time high of the previous cycle 23 months later. This has always marked the bottom. So, and look, he's right. Look at this. Look at this data going back to 2013. When it does go back, it goes back to check the previous all-time high. It just does. And so we could sit here and have long and fun conversations about why that is, but regardless of the reason, it just is. It just is. So what this time was going to be different? We're going to go down to like $20,000, $30,000 because of reasons? Well, it hasn't happened to this point anyway. And if it does, that would be a first, that's for sure. Here's a post from chart analyst Mustache. This is the total 2 chart. So it's the top 125 coins excluding Bitcoin. So XRP is in here. And Mustache is highlighting a descending, broadening wedge pattern. This is the schematic for it. If you're looking at the screen, you can see me move my mouse pointer here. It resolves to the upside. So if this is indeed what he's saying it is, very bullish. And so he wrote here, total 2 is forming a descending, broadening wedge, which has been in the making for 6 months. Bullish. Well, markets find bottoms, folks. Markets do find bottoms. And again, XRP's in that one. Here's a post from chart analyst Austin. It said, pretty convincing push up on Bitcoin so far, but XRP still completely stuck in its range. Yeah, well, fair enough to point out, but like I keep saying, this is a Bitcoin day. There will be a separate XRP day to follow. This is more important to have first, because Bitcoin's got to break to the upside. Beautiful to see this. I mean, to see Bitcoin go from $60,000 to $74,000 in less than a month, while people are screaming it's going to $30,000. It's beautiful to see. Just beautiful to see. So let that happen. XRP is up off its lows from a month ago, so it's good. It's definitely good. It dropped as low as $1.12, $1.13, so certainly higher. But it won't stay here forever. It's very clear that XRP also has been in oversold territory. Speaking of that, here's a post from Dark Defender. He said, give us that break, XRP. And so you can see and this is a one-day chart, but you could see that XRP is breaking out from this trend line that he drew, and also noting that RSI was ticking up. And it is true that XRP has been oversold, to see the relative strength index ticking up. It's going in the right direction, folks. Then there was this from the great Matsby, a guy who accurately called XRP breaking out in 2024. Here he's highlighting the crypto total market cap, excluding the top 10 coins by market cap. And this is a dominance percentage chart for them. And he said, others' dominance is not ready to enter the weekly Ichimoku cloud yet, so that's why we are seeing Bitcoin outperform today. A few more weeks and altcoins should be ready to start breaking more resistance levels above others' dominance. So yeah, XRP hasn't been breaking out, but just give it a little time, let things happen in the order they need to. But altcoins will have their day. And again, I know XRP is not in others, I know. But still, if the other segment is performing well, the top 10 they're probably going to be just fine. Historically, that's typically the case. Here's a post from chart analyst Mikey Bull Crypto. This is the others chart, and then he's got PMI on the bottom. And so again, like I said, when you see PMI, they're always talking about manufacturing. It's just assumed if you just see PMI, you're supposed to make the assumption it's manufacturing PMI, unless they explicitly state services PMI, which is why I was making that distinction earlier in this video. Anyway, so here he wrote, during the PMI expansion, alts usually rally hard. Will this time be different? Yeah, I don't think this time will be different. And so look at this. Look at this black line right here where it says that's the 50 line, right? If you're above that, that's economic expansion. Below it is contraction. So here this is going back a decade. And you can see that every time, it's where these purple lines are, where PMI finally enters economic expansion, you can see that the others chart has followed without fail. And so we just entered economic expansion. So it makes sense that we haven't seen the alt season yet because we were in economic contraction. The fact that we saw Bitcoin rally to the high that it did is amazing in and of itself because we were in economic contraction. We actually were by the PMI metric. So yeah, I mean, it makes all the sense in the world that we haven't seen the alt season yet. So if it lags behind this, so let some time pass, but unless it's the first time in history it doesn't follow, it's going to follow, Here's a post from chart analyst Greg Crypto. And he laid down a fractal. And of course, just because a fractal is laid down and follows for some amount of time, and he knows this too, and he acknowledges this. It doesn't mean it's going to continue to play out for sure, but he laid down a fractal from a previous cycle here for XRP. And if it plays out, you're looking at $14 to $15 XRP, which frankly, I don't know if that's going to hit it. I admit I don't know where the price of XRP is going. And if I'm wrong, it goes to zero. That's possible. But my conviction is my conviction. I think it's going to go way, way, way higher. I do believe that, or else I wouldn't be holding XRP. But, if it follows this fractal, $14 to $15, that does not seem crazy to me. I don't know if it's going to hit this cycle. I don't know if it's going to go that high. But we've seen moves like that in terms of market cap a number of times in the history of crypto. It's certainly reasonable to speculate that. So I still firmly believe the best is yet ahead, folks. I really do. I think what happens in the end, it's just going to blow everyone's mind. I'm not a financial advisor. You should not buy or sell anything because of anything I say or write. That would be a very, very, very bad idea.